Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, what we're going to talk about in this video, these two adorable little children, Jack and Lily Sullivan. We've been following this case off and on whenever there is any news, ever since the beginning. Now, can you believe it? It has now been, or it will be, 2nd of May. Jack and Lily disappeared last year. So it's been a whole year since these two little mites disappeared from their home. Supposedly, they were playing in the garden one Friday morning. They'd had the day off school because they weren't feeling well. And apparently, Malaya, their mum, she contacted the school, emailed the school in the morning. My question is always, was it her who emailed the school, actually her who did it, or did somebody do it in her name? Of course, the thing with emails is you don't know. Anyone might have access to somebody else's emails, might they? Especially if they were partners. Anyway, so Malaya, their mum, lived with her partner, Daniel, um, in Nova Scotia in Canada, and they also had a baby together, Meadow. And apparently, Daniel, Malaya, and Meadow, the baby, were all trying to have a sleep in, have a long lie. And apparently, Lily put her head through the bedroom door a couple of times. They were told not to wake the baby, and they could be heard playing in the kitchen. And then suddenly, it seemed like it was realised that they couldn't be heard anymore, that they could not be heard playing anymore. So they went out looking for them. They weren't on the homestead where they live. Um, Also on that homestead is Jamie, Daniel's mum, living there. And I believe Daniel's brother was living there, but nobody ever really talks about him. And I'd like to know more about him. But anyway, apparently she said she heard them playing that morning, and then suddenly she couldn't hear them anymore, and they disappeared, poof, into a puff of smoke, practically. Um, there were anyway. There was massive searches done for them, both by the family, by the police, by volunteers. Everybody's been trying to find Jack and Lily, and it was thought originally maybe they wandered into the woods, and an accident had befallen them, and they were in the woods somewhere, maybe either scared, couldn't get back home, or maybe even something had happened to them. Could have been an animal. They could have fallen into. I think there's some water on that property or in the woods there. So there were, it wasn't initially thought that it might be foul play. And you'll see from because the video we're going to watch in this episode is RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. They've released, they did a press conference, for the year disappearance. And you'll see it's not, it's a bit depressing actually, because they're still treating it as a missing person investigation. They say clearly that there's a very slim chance that they might still be alive. So I don't think they're alive. They're not coming out and saying there's definitely foul play. And they go through a little bit about what they've done over this year to help find Jack and Lily. There's been lie detector tests, searches, various, analysis of phone records, etc., bank records, and you name it. They've tried it, but it hasn't resulted in anything. And initially, another thing that's very strange about this case, that the very next day that Jack and Lily disappeared into thin air, Malaya, the mum, she left the stepfather. She left him. She moved out of the home with her daughter Meadow, though the baby now is in care, I believe, and neither of the parents have got custody of Meadow. Um, but Malaya just left, didn't she? Left just like that. Why did she leave? Why did she leave when her children were missing from that address and could have turned up at any minute needing their mum? I'll never understand why she left the very next day. I mean, I do believe there is domestic violence in this relationship between her and Daniel Martel, and that may be the reason why she left. Um, and there's probably a lot that she can't talk about. So let's not forget that since then, Daniel himself, Daniel Martel, the stepfather, he has been arrested and accused of domestic violence and, sex assault, which we think is, and holding someone against their will, which I think, does that amount to the same as kidnapping? I'm not sure. Anyway, he's appeared in court. He is facing those charges, but they're said to be unrelated to the case of Jack and Lilly. Personally, and it is only my personal opinion, not backed up, by any evidence. There is no evidence of foul play. But my money's on Daniel. I'm sorry. This is a guy who initially, in the initial stages, he couldn't stop talking, could he? He was on all the podcasts. He was like the official spokesperson, and he's not even their biological father. So it was very odd. Anyway, he's not on any podcast now. You don't ever hear about him now. He's quiet now, not speaking at all. I feel like the suspicion is on him, and that's why he's not talking now. I think in the beginning, he really thought he'd got away with it, whatever it is. I don't know what he's done to these kids, either him or somebody he knows, but I feel like Daniel, he just knows more than he's letting on. I don't necessarily feel that about Malaya. I think Malaya does probably suspect Daniel, but I think Malaya is probably working with the police, and I don't feel that Malaya had anything to do with what happened to them, but maybe she knows more. Anyway, those are only my thoughts. I'm just a podcaster saying what I think. I have, hopefully this case eventually will get solved. We've got a lot of frustrating cases at the moment. Nancy Guthrie missing. Nobody knows what happened to her. Gus Lamont over there in Australia. Nancy, of course, in Tucson, Arizona in America. So all these, and listen, these are high profile cases. There's loads of other ones all over the world, isn't there? But, there's ones that we've covered before, like Sebastian Rogers. He's still not been found. Summer Wells. There's so many missing children, adults, you name it. Now, there was I don't know if any of you saw it if you're in Australia, but there was some, well, good news is not the right word to say, but a person has just been found after, I think it was 6 years, an adult who disappeared 6 years ago, and his family have not known what happened to him, although it was always thought he had been red-runged. His remains have finally been found after 6 years. So we shouldn't give up hope. I know that's cold comfort for his family, though they did a press conference. They're very, very grateful to the people that found him, because now they know where he is. They can bring him home. They can give him a respectful burial. These things mean a lot, even though he may be deceased. Well, he is deceased. Can't bring him back to life, of course, but it must bring at least a grain of comfort, mustn't it, to finally know what's happened to your loved one. So no such resolution for the family of Jack and Lilly yet. Those little kids are out there, and Jack, he was 4 when he went missing. I think he's turned 5. Lily was 6 when she went missing. I think she's had a birthday as well, so I think she would be 7 now. So yeah, a whole year, can't believe that, a whole year's gone past, and these children have not been found. Now, first of all, that's what we're going to watch. We're going to watch the press conference, the police press conference a year on from the disappearance of these two children. We're going to watch that. I just want to first of all give you a little recap. I'm going to share this article. I've given a little recap already, but I'll just read this out briefly. So they are saying they're still looking for leads. So anyone who knows anything, look at those kids' faces. I mean, Lily, she always just looks so sweet. She's always smiling in every photo. Jack looks like a mischievous child. I'm just saying that's the impressions I get from their photos. I'm not saying Lily is not mischievous. I'm sure she's mischievous too. But there's something. Jack just looks. Oh, sorry. Just let me show the photo. I wasn't showing. Jack just, little boys are cheeky, aren't they? So, in general, yeah. So, Mounties are still investigating the disappearance of Lily and Jack Sullivan a year after the children went missing. So, Lily 6 and her 4-year-old brother Jack, as I say, I think they've both had a birthday since then, were first reported missing from their home on Gairloch Road in Lansdowne Station at 10:01 a.m. on May the 2nd, 2025 by their mother, Malaya Brooks Murray. She told the police she believed the children had wandered away from their home, which sparked one of the largest searches the province has ever seen, but it has proved fruitless. So we're going to listen to the news release, so I'm not going to read that bit out. I just really wanted to give you this background. We're going to actually listen to the news release. Anyway, so anyone with fact-based information related to Lily and Jack Sullivan's case should contact the North East Nova Scotia RCMP Major Crime Unit, and it gives you the phone number there. Or Nova Scotia Crime Stoppers, so if you want to remain anonymous. So there they are, this lovely siblings. Apparently they were very close. Lily was the dominant one, she would lead and Jack would follow. And that's why originally, children do sometimes wander off. It's not, it's not unknown for children to wander off, and sometimes they're found. But a year, it's too long, isn't it? It's too long. Couldn't be alive unless somebody has them. Only way Jack and Lily can be still alive is if somebody has abducted them, and is keeping them safe somewhere. That's the best case scenario, isn't it? Now, I have seen some reports, I need to look into it a bit closer, but I have seen some reports that there was another child kidnapped from nearby where Jack and Lily lived. Could that be connected? I mean, I'm sure the police have looked into that. But really, what we're going to be doing in this particular video is we're just going to be looking at this press conference and what the police had to say. So let's see.
Yeah, absolutely. On that note, we will start from your left to the right. We'll limit each reporter to one question, one follow-up. If there's time after that, we'll go back around for another round of questions. Thank you. Rob, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming today. As you can see by our news release, we don't have new information to put out there. Our investigators continue to actively drive this investigation forward and follow up on every tip and lead that we receive. I will answer a few of your questions. Sorry, to the left.
So we'll start on your left, and if you could.
So this is the guy that always comes on and talks, isn't it? And so straight away he's saying there is no new information. At the end of the day, they're only doing this press conference because it has been a year. At least they're doing a press conference. I mean, look at the Nancy Guthrie case. When are we going to have we're never going to get a press conference there, are we, from Nanos? just never going to happen, I think. Just a joke. He's a joke, isn't he? But thing is, I know they haven't resolved this case, but at least they're coming out and saying something, even though it's just to say that. Jeez, what the hell's that? Sorry, I'm not sure what that is. Hey, bad boys. So I think I thought somebody was ringing the doorbell, but they're not. They're just walking past. But don't know why the dogs reacted so much like that. Anyway, there you go. So yeah, that's totally thrown me. So let's just see if you can hear what they're saying.
Just state your name and the agency where you're from, and we'll proceed that way.
Can you address the camera when you answer?
Sure, no problem.
Mark Hodgins, 95.7 News Radio. So year-long investigation now, still not much information. Do you feel there are people out there that might be able to give you information that can lead you somewhere?
Oh, absolutely. We really would like the public to consider, if they do have any information, real factual based information, to please contact us at the numbers provided. We seek anything we can find so that we can follow up and find new leads, new avenues to find information.
Jacob Moore with Acadia Broadcasting. What sort of potentially move from a missing persons case to something else, potentially something criminal or suspicious?
Sure. It's hard to really put a label on what exactly we'd need, as you can imagine. But once we have that, we make all of our decisions based on the evidence that we collect. Once we have that evidence, then we'll move forward in those areas if that's appropriate.
In your news release this morning, you talked about wanting to have more fact-based tips from the public. Can you tell us what you meant by that? And I have a follow-up.
Sure. I mean, everybody is exposed to social media, speculative, and sometimes not necessarily based in truth or fact. The information we need isn't necessarily speculation or thoughts or theories. We'd like information that actually points us in a direction to try and find out things that have taken place. So I just find sometimes social media can be a little bit murky. So
on social media, can you talk to us about how
social media,
when tips come from that kind of a source, or people are
sure
relating tips that they've heard on social media, how the impact that has on the investigation? Because I understand you have to chase those down.
Yeah. Well, we try and gather every piece of information we possibly can about the situation. So when we get a tip, a speculative tip, then we're required, we're duty bound to follow down all leads to either corroborate or uncorroborate that particular tip. So when we get things that really are, very speculative, it creates work for us that, of course, takes away from maybe better areas that we could focus on sometimes. So it just helps for us in our stuff. People consider, is this something that is factual, something the police can find more information on? So does that answer your question? Okay.
What is approaching the 1 year lead investigation?
I mean, it's true, of course. It's difficult, isn't it? Because they want tips. They haven't solved this case. So they're still in a position where they want people to ring up with tips. But, people are ringing up and saying things like, oh, Daniel was at the supermarket today, or, no, I don't know, things that don't have a relevance to the case. And I think he's putting it politely, and it's true, they have to follow up every tip. So if people give a tip that is not helpful, they still have to follow it up, because they can't ignore it, because it may be helpful. That may be the tip that pans out. I don't know if they've got any idea of what they think happened to Jack and Lilly. They're still describing it as missing persons, not as a crime. So is that because they just haven't got the evidence they need, or is it because they genuinely don't know? They've given polygraphs. Apparently, everybody's been polygraphed. And I think everybody passed, didn't they? Though it's not clear whether Daniel passed the last one that he did. He definitely passed one early on because he told everybody about it. But he's thought to have done one more, bit more recently, and we don't know if he passed that or not. The police won't tell you. I've tried to get information about this case quite a few times in the early days, not recently. From the police, they won't tell you anything.
What does approaching the 1-year mark mean for the investigation? Does it change any of the results of maybe getting closer to finding the kids?
Well, we've taken, it's of course been a long investigation. So over the last number of months, we've gone through a lot of the information we have. And of course, we're new leads, but I guess this investigation was always going to take time. There's been a lot of tips, a lot of interviews, and a lot of video that we've had to review. And of course, other avenues of different areas where we want to collect and things. So it takes a long time to go through all that and do it. But that's where the investigation stands.
Ali Bowes, the Chronicle Hero. You mentioned the amount of content you guys have had to go through, and I know there's been this kind of rise of AI generated
Yeah.
content. Could you kind of speak a bit more on that?
Well, obviously, whenever you collect any electronic data, you have to make sure that there's integrity related to that data. So, of course, that creates extra steps. But, we have the capabilities in the RCMP to deal with those things. So,
Channel there with Radio Canada. I'll ask my question in English. What are we approaching with the 1 year? You said there's nothing new, but what are you hoping to see next?
we're going to continue to gather whatever information is out there, take any tips from the public and follow up on those, and we'll make our investigative decisions based on those facts.
I can provide that in French if you want, Rob. Alors, en français, vraiment avec l'année qui s'est poursuivie, l'enquête se poursuit. Nos enquêteurs suivent tous les renseignements. On poursuit l'enquête qui va continuer.
Would you like a French accent? Yeah, of course, in Canada, France, well, in some parts of Canada, French is the first language, isn't it? So they're answering it, this guy's answering it in French as well. The other guy maybe can't speak French, I don't know, but it is a nice language to listen to.
À se poursuivre jusqu'à temps qu'on trouve qu'est-ce qui est arrivé aux enfants.
Are there particular challenges, as some colleagues talked about, like AI content, social media? Are there specific challenges in your investigation right now that you're facing that maybe weren't there at the beginning?
I can't speak to a specific challenge. I think it's more of a general comment about social media and AI impacts on policing, right? So it's just things that we have to consider nowadays. So.
AI must really complicate investigations, mustn't it, really? I don't like AI, I'm sorry, I just don't like it. I think we've got enough to cope with in this crazy world without trying to work out if something's genuine or not. You know, and for those of us who aren't very sophisticated with AI, it's very difficult to tell sometimes. I mean, sometimes you can tell, and it's getting better all the time, isn't it? That's the problem. In the end, God, you know, will everything be AI? We'll be suspecting everything. Personally, I'm not a fan of AI at all.
Oui, l'intelligence artificielle, c'est certain que nous, on enquête les faits. On a des enquêteurs, des ressources spécialisées vraiment pour filtrer ça, pour aller de l'avant. C'est certain qu'on demande aux gens qui ont des faits de venir de l'avant contacter les policiers.
Hi, Lindsay Jones from the Globe and Mail.
Hi, Lindsay.
To the outside world, seeing this press release today, many people might assume that the case is at a standstill, that the investigation is at a standstill. What can you say to tell the public or convince the public that what you're doing, that you're making progress, if you're making progress at all over these last 6 months or so?
Ever since this began, the RCMP has been actively engaged in pursuing what happened with Jack and Lilly. This is a critical question for our community. When 2 young children go missing and we have no answers, so we this team and we won't. Our investigators, our parents.
Now we saw this with, you know, the end of the day, the police or the law enforcement, they cannot give details, can they, until investigations are ready to, till prosecutions are ready to be made. So I think we saw this just recently, just now, really, haven't we, with Celeste Rivas and David Divi4D, or Berkey, as I like to call him, or the pretentious little twonk. That was nearly a year, was it? Celeste was found in September last year, deceased and dismembered.
From across Canada, we continue to engage those units to support us where needed. We've brought in specialized services for any area that's required, whether it be testing or looking at our social media for AI or whatever other specialized areas, human remains detection dogs. And we won't stop. If we see something we can leverage.
And what happened to the kids. When I spoke with you back in December, you said you were forming pictures of what may have happened, but we still don't know. There's still no evidence of abduction or foul play or anything
Yeah, we continue to gather information to develop that picture, and we have to review all the information that comes in when we make decisions. Of course, there is an active investigation. I'm not going to get into all the details of it, but we are pursuing all avenues available to us.
Angela Capelino, Global News Halifax. Apologies if this was asked already, but I know the press release says fact-based.
It sort of says a lot without saying anything, doesn't it, really?
Yes.
What exactly are you looking for when you mean fact-based?
Well, something that can be corroborated, something that's less than rumor or, this person said, that person said, something that we can find facts to follow up on to show whether things are true or false, things like that. Perhaps there's evidence or hard, tangible evidence of some kind. Maybe I'm just tossing out possibilities, but something that we're able to work with to find something out, not necessarily just some random theory that we have to piece through. So does that make sense? Okay.
And I know that there is a volunteer search this weekend. Does RCMP have any plans of doing another search of Lansdowne Station at this time?
We don't have any plans at this time. We appreciate the efforts from the different groups that are trying to support our community with locating these two missing.
Yeah, there's been searches over the weekend, and apparently Malaya, the mum, she took part in those searches. As far as I know, I don't think anything was found, but the police are not searching anymore. That tells you something, really, doesn't it? But of course, in the end, they do give up searching, don't they? Because they can't carry on searching forever. And sometimes it is volunteers that end up finding out what's happened to people, like in the case of Jesus, sorry. In the case of Celine, the Belgian backpacker that went missing in Tasmania. And it was volunteers, her own friends and people from the community that volunteered to help, who ended up solving the mystery of what happened to Celine. Finding her phone, didn't they, first of all, on one expedition, if you like, and then another volunteer actually found Celine's remains. 2 years she's been missing. Her family haven't known, didn't know what had happened to her. It seems like she went off the trail in a hike. We'll probably never know why she went off the trail. It could be somebody else was involved. Maybe somebody frightened her, and that's why she went off the trail. But it seems like she dropped her phone. She was probably alive the first night, but succumbed at some point. She slipped, they think, in the river. Anyway, succumbed to the elements. But what I'm trying to say is, volunteers do find people in the end. So it's good that the volunteers are continuing to search, but the police aren't searching anymore.
Children, and we've been in contact with them. So, it's good to see community step up, and but we don't have anything planned at this time.
Sorry. Go ahead. Hey, Rob, it's Paul.
Yes.
Read the release, 106 interviews, polygraphs. I think this was reported in the fall, but we asked.
Sure.
the polygraph, family members, community members, can you, a bit of specificity or just?
Sure. Generally, we've interviewed different people related to the circumstances here. I'm not going to get into specifics of it, but there's been a few different polygraphs done, and that's of course a tool that we use as part of our investigation. So, not just family, but there's been different people polygraphed. So,
my follow-up would be just the investigation in general, the pressure on the province. I spoke with a criminologist from St. Thomas University, and he said in a case like this, it's hard on the family, it's hard on the community, it's hard on the investigators. Can you just offer a comment? Should injected into it because of these two young children?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've mentioned this a couple of times. Our investigators feel the pressure. It's and they put it on themselves. As much as everybody is pressuring us, we pressure ourselves almost doubly as much as that. So, but they're committed to finding answers. Everybody wants answers to what's happened here, and we'll continue to follow all avenues that are available to us until we have those answers.
Ali Thompson with CBC News. This case is extremely rare for two siblings to disappear without a trace, no answers 1 year later. It's virtually unheard of in Canada. What challenges does that present to the RCMP?
Well, of course, anytime time goes by, there may be evidence lost or information that never gets, that doesn't get found. It, of course, affects people's memories and stuff too when we go to do interviews. Like there are impacts on a lengthy investigation. But at the end of the day, investigations sometimes take time, especially when you're dealing with the volume of information that we're dealing with in this particular case. And we have to get it right.
Yeah.
So.
What is your plan to find Lilly?
Again, we continue to gather and look for any avenue to find information that'll help us.
Yeah, we have to get it right. That reminds me a lot of the Celeste and David case, or the Celeste murder case, and they've taken so long because there's a lot of information. Oh, it's thundering. It's thundering. We're going to have a storm. Great. It's a bank holiday weekend here in Spain this weekend. It's Labor Day weekend. So you might know the weather's going to be crap, as in every bank holiday, whichever country you live in. Okay, I'll play this out to the end because then I've got to go and get organised for this storm.
Again, if there's members of the public who have factual evidence-based information that feel that can support us in our investigation, please call us. And we will make our decisions based on that. I can't really say what exactly the plan is other than to keep working, finding the information we need, and then we will find the answers to what happened with Lilly and Jack.
Any follow-up question, CP? I know we had one earlier, Hafsa.
Could we just repeat in French just how rare this is the case and what challenges?
Ouais. Alors, la question en anglais, c'était vraiment si ce dossier c'est rare. En
I'm going
effet,
to
c'est
fast
extrêmement.
forward through in French because I'm worrying now about the storm. There you go.
You talked about how hard your officers are working and how much pressure there is. And there is a perception, there may be a perception out there that this investigation has been stalled and it's not getting anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Could you comment on the idea, I'm not asking you to reveal anything, that there are things happening behind the scenes that the police just cannot talk about?
Well, in any criminal investigation, in order to protect the case here, we're gathering that information, and there's operational security related to the information we gather. If people learn different things, that can impact our ability to gather things in a general sense, right? But it's just, we have to maintain the security of what we're doing too, right? So it could impact our ability to gather things later. So.
You mentioned investigations like this take time.
Yeah.
Besides the volume of tips, what can you say about why investigations like this do take time?
Well, even when it comes to just interviewing people, sometimes that doesn't happen immediately. Sometimes it takes time to make arrangements. There's all kinds of things that can get in the way, delays here and there, whether you're dealing with people. So sometimes some of the tips take a lot longer to follow up with because they're just more in depth, the things we have to do, right? So without getting into a bunch of details, there's just a lot of work to be done. So.
Are you confident that you're going to get there in the end?
Yeah, we'll continue to work. We'll gather all the information we have, and on those answers, we'll make our decisions, move forward. I'm confident we'll be able to gather the information we need to move this investigation where it needs to go.
Do you have any information on how families coping with this? If we're now
I'm not going to talk specifically about family impacts, but in general, in any circumstance like this, there's impacts on the family, and my heart goes out to them. They've been working with us and engaged with our team, and we appreciate that. And it's not an easy time for family, and that really comes back to the social media point that can cause a lot of pain and grief for our grieving family members. So, I don't have any specific comment, just general that does have impacts on families. Big time.
You've talked about what you've already worked through, but what sort of evidence have you yet to explore? Is there any, amount of tips that, maybe not are rumors, but that you're still looking at?
I mean, I really can't put we need this, or this is what it looks like. Every investigation is different, right? So.
All right, we'll take one last question, and that'll be it for today. Thank you.
I just had a very simple question. Can you confirm that as of today, there's no evidence of an abduction?
We don't have any evidence of an abduction at this point in time.
And by the same token, you have no evidence or reason to believe that this is a criminal matter.
Again, we continue to collect information. We will make our decisions based on that. But as of right now, we're still investigating this as a missing persons investigation. Right?
Do you have a working theory without saying what that is?
Again, we have avenues that we're traveling down, and we're considering all potential. So.
I think the last time RCP spoke with maybe was somewhere in the fall, and would you say from then to now that you've made any progress, or?
Oh, we've definitely made progress on going through the things we need to go through. Like we're working every day to go down the roads we need to go down. So we have made forward progress, but it does take time. So
one more quick question.
Last one, Lindsay. That's it.
Now, I don't know about you, but I do feel like they are working towards something. But anyway, he's a master on saying a lot and not saying anything at the same time, isn't he?
Do you believe Jack and Lilly are alive or dead?
I think I've already said that before. I think it was my first press debrief. Yeah, I know. And well, it hasn't changed. I think the chances that Jack and Lilly are alive are very slim. So.
Yeah, no, that's quite a big thing to say, isn't it? When really they don't know anything, according to him, or he's not giving anything away. But the chances of them being alive are very slim. So I think they must have some idea what they think has happened to them. But that's as far as he's prepared to go.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Merci beaucoup d'être venu ce matin.
Yeah, so that's it. That was the press conference. So let me know what you think. As ever, do you think Jack and Lilly will ever be found, or that it will ever be found out what's happened to them? I think, although probably all of us, we would like to think they were still alive, but really after the first week or so, couple of weeks, I think we knew inside in our hearts that they're not still alive. Well, as I say, the only way they can still be alive is if somebody has abducted them and they're keeping them safe. But, why would somebody do that? So, but the thing is, if they're deceased, where are they? Where are they? Because there have been extensive searches made. There's a limit to the distance that little ones can travel. If it was an accident, or have they been? He says no evidence to suggest that they have been abducted. And to be fair, even if we think that maybe Daniel did something to them, where does he put them? he didn't have long to put them somewhere, from when they were last seen, less than, 12 hours. One of his neighbours did say he saw him driving around that night, but then the police came out and said they had no evidence to support that. So if it was, let's suppose, that it was Daniel, which of course a lot of people suspect, then where has he put them? Where has he put them so quickly? He can't have gone very far with them. I know that the problem is they're only little, so they're easy to transport, easy to hide. Could have hidden them that day and moved them another day. There's no limit really to what could have been done with two tiny little bodies like that. It's a real mystery, isn't it, this case? Yet another one of all the mysteries, same with Gus Lamont, same with Nancy Guthrie, though at least with Gus Lamont it has been announced by the police over there in Australia, the little boy, the 4-year-old boy, went missing there. I think it's generally thought that the GMAR has got something to do with it, hasn't it? And it has been announced as a crime. This with Jack and Lilly, it's like there's just nothing. No evidence of an abduction, no evidence of a crime, no evidence of them wandering off, no evidence of anything. So it's a real mystery in the meantime. These poor little ones, they deserve justice, don't they? Bless them. Okay, thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about Jack and Lilly. I'm going to go and batten down the hatches because it looks like we're going to have a massive storm. I heard one thunderclap. I don't know if you heard it, but there hasn't been another one since. But it is forecast. Storms are forecast for Spain this weekend. Now, when I just dropped number one son off at work, because he works on a bar near the beach, oh my God, everyone was sunbathing. It was beautiful. The people were out cycling, walking, sunbathing, swimming in the sea. So I hope they make the most of it before the storm comes in. Okay, thank you for watching. You take care of yourself, and we keep praying for Jack and Lilly. Just include them in your prayers, please, like all the other cases that we're covering. I'll see you really soon in the next video. Look after you, because you are the most important person. And until I see you again, which won't be too long, hopefully, may your God go with you. Bye. Oh, and don't forget to like, subscribe. Leave your DNA on that like button and that subscribe button. It's absolutely free. Press your notification bell. Don't forget, please. Bye.